Hello, people, and welcome to Jay on the Spectrum, where I, Jordan White, talk about my experiences of how someone on the autism spectrum lives in a world built for neurotypical people. Now, autistic people really love animation. I was really fascinated with animation as a kid. I respond better to animation as a kid. And today, we have someone who's appearing on the show that's actually had the experience of working on several animated films. That's right, we actually have a guest star on this show. Well, I'll tell you his name. John Pomeroy. He's worked on every Don Bluth film from Secret of NIMH to Titan AE. Oh, and hello, John.
Hello, Jordan.
Oh, and my two friends, Sarah and Julia. Now, Sarah and I go way back. We were in high
Good
school.
to meet you both.
And
hi, nice to meet you.
Julia is just Sarah's friend. Now, I'm just gonna let you know that I had a hard time getting this John for the Secret of NIMH. I had a hard time getting John for American Tail, but Land Before Time, now I finally got you, and I've got 30-minute span, and it works because a certain dinosaur movie produced by Steven Spielberg has chomped its way to the box office of like 400 million global openings, called Jurassic World Dominion. I'm pretty sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, John has had the privilege of making an animated dinosaur movie with Steven Spielberg 5 years before Steven Spielberg directed a dinosaur movie, which sent a signal to Hollywood saying, "Oh my gracious, the unfilmable can now be filmable." And Jurassic Park spawned this multi-billion dollar franchise with and made special effects go up. Now, to me, I don't think this is a story, a film like this, like a tale about all dinosaurs talking and doing stuff. I don't think that could have been done in any other medium other than animation. Right. To me, I'm the guy who is like, I don't think animation is just for kids. It can be enjoyed by anyone. And I don't think girls don't graduate out of animation. They can enjoy it any time of their lives. I mean, look here, we got 2 girls here that are enjoying this stuff. I mean, look at me. So now I've got, so now I have you, John. All right. So let's begin. John started his illustrious career at the Disney Animation Studio, but that was kind of during the time when the mouse was down, and people didn't think that animation would have a future, and other studios weren't really buying into the whole thing. So John Pomeroy, Gary Goldman, and Don Bluth split out on their own and started their own studio. Their first production out of the gate was The Banjo, the Woodpile Gat, and then you make The Secret of NIMH, because no other studio in town would ever make something that daring. Because, you know, I watched that film. I mean, you actually have a rat say the D word in that film. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Go for it, Sarah.
We were taking some chances.
We were going to ask some questions with the limited time here.
Yeah,
You can ask questions.
we have
Go for it.
questions. Yeah, so now we got I do have one. Let me guess. Spielberg discovered the Don Bluth team because of Dragon's Lair and Space Ace.
Actually, he discovered us because of Secret of NIMH.
Oh man!
Yeah, he was a real fan of Secret of NIMH. When he saw that, he realized, oh my gosh, these guys have recaptured the look that has disappeared from Disney. It had the minutia, it had the sparkle, it had all the amazing effects that films like Bambi, Snow White, and Pinocchio had, that he had not seen in the Disney animated feature film in a long time. So that's what got his attention, The Secret of NIMH. And the moment he saw that film, he called us and he came over to our studio in the summer of 1982, when E.T., the extraterrestrial, was released in the theaters.
40 years
And
ago.
we were up against his movie. So not a lot of people saw our movie because we were overshadowed by E.T., but one of our greatest fans, the irony is, Steven Spielberg was a great fan of The Secret of NIMH.
Oh, wow. So your first go around was an American Tail, which ended up being the highest grossing animated film at that time.
Right.
And the second go round is The Land Before Time. But guess who's coming along for the ride? Spielberg's buddy, George Lucas. Now, if it's George Lucas you're talking about, you gotta represent.
Well, that was, you know what, that was a terrific collaboration too, Jordan, because Steven Spielberg thinks in terms of moments in a film. He's not necessarily a screenwriter. He's a storyteller, but I think he brought in George Lucas because he needed some help with the story. And about 6 months into the production, we, Don, Gary, and myself were called to London to meet with George Lucas for about 3 or 4 days, almost like a think tank, to kind of reconfigure the story so it was a little bit stronger. And because of George Lucas's input and our input, we were able to come up with a stronger story, stronger plot line for Littlefoot and all the other dinosaurs that were in the Land Before Time plot. And it's about, you know, it's interesting because it's about different cultures coming together for their collective survival. They're in a situation where they can't fight against each other. They have to depend on each other for their survival. And it was a great story.
Yeah, it's a theme as relevant today. Unfortunately, it's relevant today as it is 35 years ago, maybe more.
Yeah,
Still
relevant today. I mean, they're like a multicultural inclusion in that flick.
Yeah, that exactly it. And you know what? It kind of mirrored where we were as a studio at that time, because we left the United States and started our animation studio in Dublin, Ireland. So
Wow.
I would say 75% of Land Before Time was made in Dublin, Ireland, with brand new talent. We reached out to various countries, and the one that was most favorable was Ireland. The Industrial Developmental Authority, the IDA, invited us to come there and start an animation studio because they had no animation industry in Ireland back then. This is 1985, 86. And so we got an office building, we've got artistic talent, we got tax benefits, we got places where they put us up, we got free lodging, and it was a wonderful situation where the Irish government was embracing the idea of having a animation industry starting up in Dublin, Ireland. And, you know, it was terrific. So, and it mirrored, you know, with American citizens acclimating and understanding the Irish culture and them trying to understand us, was mirroring exactly what we were putting on the screen with dinosaurs.
Oh, well,
That's
that's great to know.
It's art imitating life.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Okay, so
Do you want to ask a question, Sarah? I think you had
Yeah,
one.
yeah, I kind of noticed, you know, when I was looking back at the movie, I mean, there looked like some of the colors in the animation was missing in the third act. Was it production like being in a hurry to get this released or what?
You're talking about the color in Land Before Time?
I did see a goof there. I did see like someone forgot to color in some animation. Like I don't really know what the heck happened, but like something must have. I guess you were. Yeah, you were under a deadline. I know that. No, you guys are. I mean, you were trying to make something for Spielberg and Lucas.
So was there a particular scene that you're talking about?
Well, Ducky's trying to use herself as bait against the T-Rex.
Right.
And, she doesn't know where the heck this T-Rex is for a little bit, but then apparently when it's about to approach come up right behind her, they forgot to color in Ducky.
Oh, really? I never noticed that.
Huh, it's,
I didn't notice that either.
Well, you know what though, but then we're in good company, because if you look at, you look at some of the classic Disney films, you're going to see little color mistakes everywhere. And that's kind of the charming thing about hand-drawn animation. You're going to see little
True.
mistakes that nobody else will see.
It's
There's a
human.
scene-
Yeah, it's human.
Yeah, there's a scene in Bambi after the forest fire where a mother possum is licking her young cub, and all of a sudden the cub disappears.
oh,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's
and
interesting.
there's still
And
animation
you'll catch
errors
little
like
things
that.
like that. Those
on-
are like, you might call them like little Easter eggs,
Yeah.
in the movie. But I tell you, the color in Land Before Time, I have a great thanks to our color stylist, Don Moore, who was our head of background at the time. And he color staged The Secret of Nim, American Tail, Land Before Time, and just about every film that we did together at Don Bluth Productions. And he was
Yeah, you got a
marvelous
good
with
point.
color. Because
Yeah.
you tell the story not only in animation, you tell it in music, and you tell it in color. And he did a great job on balancing the emotion of the storytelling in color right along with the music and with the animation.
Ah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, aside from the goose, it looked like they were experimenting like a lot of color lightings throughout the movie,
Yes.
with the lighting and the shading.
And that's what makes animation so much fun. It doesn't get boring. You're always challenged, whether it's the painted backgrounds or the performance that you're trying to create on paper with animation, or the music, the story, the editorial. Everything is exciting, and it doesn't get stale. It's always challenging.
well,
And you guys know that too, because you
Yeah.
guys are animating together as a team.
Yes.
Jordan and Sarah animate things together as a team, and I get the
yeah,
privilege to
we
be-
use technology like this, the digitizer tablets and stuff, in order to get 2D input in the computer, in order to get that little hand-drawn look. It's, as a matter of fact, the film that you worked on, the most recent one you did, Space Jam 2: A New Legacy, you actually did 2D with computers, Toon Boom,
Yeah.
TV Paint, Adobe
Yes.
Animate, and all that stuff. I know about that technology. Not everyone would know about that. They would think it would be all a 3D thing, but not everything could be a 3D thing. You can actually draw in the computer these days.
Yeah, you know what? You can, Space Jam was interesting because it used both disciplines, CG, digital animation, along with old traditional hand-drawn animation. And it was wonderful. I thought it turned out, the story may have some problems, but I thought the presentation of the animation looked flawless. I got to animate on the character Wonder Woman. That sequence, there was a sequence in there where Wonder Woman is challenging Lola Bunny to run the course so she can be promoted to full Amazon stature. And I saw the final cleanup on Wonder Woman. It looked beautiful. And I was really privileged to be working on that one sequence because I'm a DC comic fan.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, the only recognizable character actor I know in this film is Pat Hingle, who is Commissioner Jim Gordon in the first Batman films.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We had terrific voice talent working on that picture. Land Before Time was a real challenge because we had to kind of break ground as far as how dinosaurs move, how they would react. And you want to introduce that human quality in them so that the audience identifies, with their situation. And so it was very challenging. We studied elephants walking, we studied monitor lizards, we studied ostriches, large birds, trying to get a handle on how a T-Rex moves. This is all before Jurassic Park. And I'm a real fan of old school stop action animation like King Kong. I love Willis O'Brien and his work in that movie. So even studying that, we would look at those pictures and try to get an idea of how we could present drawn dinosaurs in the best way that makes them believable. And that's the thing that we're always trying, you're challenged to do in animation is, can I convince you as the audience that these characters are real and what they're going through, you can feel yourself. We call that the willing suspension of disbelief. Do you believe it? And, that's the big challenge for us.
That's cool.
I mean, I'm autistic, well, and so is Sarah, but Julia's not. So that's what's going on here. Of course,
well, then you can identify Jordan with Littlefoot because he's challenged in his confidence. He doesn't understand why his mother's not with him. He doesn't understand how he's going to keep this group together and why they don't follow him, you know, to the valley, the Great Valley. That we try to put things in the story that everybody can identify with and fall in love with. You know, you see a character that you understand that's like you, and you want to support him and cheer him on, and that's part of the movie going experience. Yeah.
And they're all different. All of them are different.
They're all different. Yeah.
We're neurodiverse, and we're
I mean, it doesn't have like just dinosaurs, but like other prehistoric creatures, like the pterosaurs, the lizards, and even some things are like, you know, way outside the Mesozoic era, like a megalodon.
I worked a little on something prehistoric that she did, kind of like an edit thing, and find sound effects and stuff. And she put that in a museum of natural history. Well, not like
Whiteside Museum of Natural History.
Oh,
okay.
Seymour County, Texas.
Yeah, she has an animation piece in there that helps kids understand what Dimetrodons do and how they act.
Very cool.
Okay.
Very cool. And you know what? Animation is a great vehicle to do that. I mean, it makes it not just believable, but you can you have empathy. You can be connected to those images if they're strong enough. And that's the challenge in animation. Can you make it believable for a viewing audience? Obviously, with Land Before Time, we were successful in doing that.
Yeah. Well, it was like you were able to manage. You were able to. Well, you managed to be one of the highest grossing anime films of 1988, but it was kind of like Oliver and Company did like a few tiny dollars ahead, and then boom, Disney Renaissance hits, Little Mermaid, and then Wish goes down under kind of is not exactly as successful, and then hit after hit after hit. Disney, everyone was trying to copy Disney in the 90s. Right. That's what was going on. So here's another question I have. I've heard.
Well, you know what, you just said something that is very important about animation, and that is competition breeds excellence. So back at that time, you know, we were challenging Disney to do better, and they were challenging us to do our best. And so with Land Before Time, they came out with Oliver and Company. With American Tail, they came out with Great Mouse Detective. So we were challenging each other. And because of that, the industry got larger and stronger. Suddenly, you know, an American Tail movie, when it came out, it earned about $65 to $70 million in its box office release. As you said earlier, that's one of the highest grossing animation grosses at that time. And everybody took notice. Suddenly, 20th Century Fox got interested in animation. Warner Brothers got interested in animation. Sony and Paramount, all of these companies said, hey, we've got to get in on this, and we got to do it now. And so Universal produces a Curious George. 20th Century Fox produces an Anastasia. And these are the products of competition. And suddenly now, animation is being done worldwide. In other words, the whole world is one gigantic animation studio.
Yeah, because it's because it's all global. I've especially since the whole pandemic thing started, we realized we can work remote. So
Yes.
but it wasn't so easy in 1988 as it is now. So there's your ticket there. So I've heard stories and legends about animated footage that was cut from this film because it was deemed too graphic and that it's lost media. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Ooh, boy, yeah, you're testing my memory. I can't remember any scenes of mine that were cut. I know we had, there was a lot of discussion about the sequence I animated where Littlefoot's mother dies. So they've had the Tyrannosaurus Rex fight. She's been wounded and she's dying. And Littlefoot finds her, and they have this moment together where he's wondering, "Get up, Mom. Why don't you get up?" And she's telling him, "I'm not going to be with you any longer, Littlefoot, but you have to make your way to the Great Valley." And so it's this little parting moment where she's kissing him goodbye and then leaving him. That was a real tough sequence because I couldn't move it very much. It had to be it was a close-up scene between the mother and Littlefoot. And she's basically giving him instruction that he's going to have to use for the rest of the story. And that was a very, very, very tough sequence to animate, simply because I didn't want to make it, if I made it too broad, it wouldn't be believable. So I had to give it just enough movement to make it real for someone. And we've all experienced loss in our life, whether it was a relative, a friend, or a pet, or something that touched us, that broke our hearts, that we can remember what that was like. So it was important to get that flavor in that sequence.
Yeah.
And it was touching.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I mean,
Any more questions, Jordan?
Oh boy, I'm trying to think. Well, this is one of the few movies that we didn't use Dom DeLuise in. He became like family because we used him as Jeremy the Crow in Secret of NIMH. We used him as Tiger, the vegetarian cat in American Tail. We used him again right after Land Before Time. We used him as Itchifer Dachshund, as Charlie D. Bartman's best pal in All Dogs Go to Heaven. I think we used him again. He was Stanley, Troll in Central Park. So, I mean, he was such a gifted talent, and he can almost direct himself most of the time, a real professional. So you start using people over and over again.
Yeah,
I noticed that kind of reoccurring theme from Pixar as well.
The Lucky Charm John Ratzenberger is a constant voice talent provider for that studio. Pam and many other characters in the Pixar films.
It's a combination of a great voice quality and being a true professional. You start using people. It's like Phil Harris with Disney. Phil Harris was Baloo the Bear. He was O'Malley Cat in Aristocats. He was Little John in Robin Hood, and then we used him too in Rockadoodle. He was Patu the dog, who couldn't quite tie his shoes, and he sings a song about tying your shoes. So working with voice talents is really great. We were really blessed when we first did our first feature film in Secret of NIMH. We had some amazing voice talent, one of which was John Carradine. John Carradine, who represents the golden age of Hollywood during the 30s. He came in suit and tie. He was a true professional, very Shakespearean, but he had horrible arthritis. And when he came in, he was limping badly because of his arthritis condition. And it was an inspiration for me for animating the character, the Great Owl, because I had the Great Owl walk with a slight limp. So a lot of the voice talent bring great inspiration for the actions and the movement of the character, because what we hope is that the recorded voice will marry itself to the animation to become one persona, one entity.
Oh yeah. well, I don't really know who.
Lot to think about.
Yeah, I don't really know who the Sullivan person was, and I also don't really know. Actually, during the scene where Littlefoot and Sarah are being attacked by the T-Rex, aka Sharptooth, I swear I saw them under a branch with the T-Rex pushing against the branch, like the kids in the Jeep in Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever find it cool that Spielberg put something that you created for him in a masterpiece blockbuster he directed and made special effects grow up?
Yeah. I was gonna ask that question. Was there like anything from Land Before Time that was like incorporated to the
I wouldn't be surprised. It's very flattering when someone like Steven Spielberg is inspired by something that was in that animated film that he'll use years later in Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park. And yeah, I would say, yeah, you probably did. And it's like sometimes as a filmmaker, you try things out, you try actions or little moments out in different films. And you'll try to make it stronger, you make it better, you make it staged better. And each time you're telling that story, you can use that setup somewhere else. It's like a great painter loves a certain type of color that they will use over and over again. Or like John Williams, when he does a score for a Harry Potter or a Star Wars, you can recognize certain moments and passages, don't you?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's like an artist with a certain color. They love the color yellow or they love the color green, and they'll constantly use it somewhere in their palette, in their music, in their storytelling.
Well,
That's a pretty way
I
to
can definitely tell you that John Williams is like the GOAT of film music. He's
Amen.
But apparently you couldn't get him for animated films because all you ended up with was James Horner. I don't mean to disrespect him, God rest his soul. He's a composer.
You know what? James Horner was terrific. I think that was God ordained because I think James Horner did a fabulous job in American Tail and Land Before Time. I think, it would have been great to work with John Williams. We were blessed. John Williams came to our studio back in 1981 to look at The Secret of NIMH, and he wanted to actually compose the music, but he had a conflict. He was actually doing the music for E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Oh.
So we didn't get him. However, Jerry Goldsmith, who had just done the score for Alien, he worked out beautifully. So these things have a way, the solution becomes almost a godly blessing on the picture. I think that Jerry Goldsmith was inspired by what he saw as in our animation. I think James Horner was inspired greatly by American Tail and what he saw that we were creating in Land Before Time. And he did a beautiful job. Beautiful job.
Yeah. Speaking of music, how did they land Diana Ross to do the song?
How do they what?
Yeah, how did they land Diana Ross?
Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Oh yeah, well that comes when you're working with a powerhouse like Steven Spielberg.
You can make some calls.
Anything can happen. Hey guys, I think we're running out of time. I think I'm just about finished.
Yes.
You have one more thing to show you. I drew this myself.
Oh wow, that's lovely.
This is Cookie and this is Jody. They're like creatures from the Permian time period.
Very nice. Good job.
Very nice.
You've got a future in animation, Tracy.
Actually, her name is Sarah.
Oh, okay.
Tracy Howe is her father.
Yeah.
Hey, it's been great, Jordan. Thank you so much for arranging this podcast. It's been great seeing all of you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
Hey, you take care,
keep
John.
supporting animation.
All right, take care.
Cookie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.